Okay, check this out. Some interesting stuff, if you're interested. Resolution, you know what it is, how do we attain it, what these plug and plays come with, how you can modify them, what the result is, etc., etc. A cool way to show you how this all works is with this frsky radio. Everything is pretty cool about these. Not that other radios aren't cool. I don't know other radios that turn purple and green. Okay, so if I go to the radio and I go to the model menu and I go to the output menu, so this is the servos, and I go to the rudder. What I have here on the rudder is still the stock setup. So that's moving the stock distance. So if I go full deflection, that way you can see. I only got it set up to about 45. So, you know, this could actually be worse. You know, I got it maybe 47 degrees left and right. And that is only getting me, well, let's check on here. So this is rudder right here. You can see where it says rudder. And this is the millisecond for the resolution. So how many steps that you have, and that center, you know, usually starts around 1500. It's 1520 on Futaba for the center, and this is just the reason it's 1495 is because I use some subtrim. Okay, from there, so on this stock setup on the rudder, you can see I go full deflection, and I'm at 1197, and then I'll go full deflection the other way, and then I'm at 1800. So 600 steps is what I'm getting. These are, you know, capable of over 1,000, and yeah, I got 600 from that's just the factory setup right there. So now that's with my endpoints on here are 6262 on that, and that's the same endpoints that I had on my ailerons when I had it stock, the professionally built plug and play stock plane, ready to fly. I also had that same 6262, so I had that same 600 steps. Well, after doing the modification that we talked about in the last video, which was really quick and easy once I did one aileron, you know, I did the other aileron in like 2 minutes. It's just changing that arm to the Amazon arms that cost $9 for 5, and then changing the push rod. You don't even have to change the length or change the turnbuckles, because it goes from under the old servo arm to on top of the new servo arm, which spins the ball link 180 degrees, which makes it go correctly on the other side of the control horn, which is where I want it, as I displayed. And you're done. That's it. That's all you got to do. So after you do that, you reset your 39 degrees up and down, or the factor, or the recommended by the elite pilots, 38 up, 37 down. And then you come back over here, and now let's look at aileron, and let's look at these numbers. Again, it's not 1500 because I adjusted the subtrim. Now let's go full, oops, that's the rudder. Let's go full aileron. We got, what, 18, wait a minute, oh, my finger didn't go all the way, sorry. These springs are so damn stiff. I'm working on that next. So we got 2036, and then the other way we have 965, so that's 1070 steps. So from 600 to 1070, so we got double the steps of resolution on there. And it coincides directly with mechanical advantage, so they don't rate the same in terms of, I have twice as much resolution now. I don't necessarily have twice as much torque from the mechanical advantage, but I have a far improved mechanical advantage. I have far improved torque. I could calc that too, but suffice to say, I got much improved strength from the servos now. but I have twice as much resolution. So that's huge. And what's really cool is you can see all that really clearly on the frsky radios, which is kind of fun. Will you be able to tell? Oh, hell yeah. I don't even care how bad you are. You will be able to tell. Not you personally that's watching this video, but just some new guy at the field that can barely fly, he would notice. And would elite pilot notice that could fly, a 2x4 and make it look good anyway, make it look better than me? Yeah, he's going to notice he's going to fly better. So maybe he looks great with the stock plane, but he will look better after that. And the best example I can give you on that, I've talked about it through the years sometimes, was Brian Kinwald, who was the best ever in off-road two-wheel buggy and two-wheel trucks, and four-wheel too. He was just the Michael Jordan of off-road, and for years and years. And I used to race with him in 1990, and one night he was racing two-wheel buggy open class, and I was racing two-wheel monster truck open class. And we both did our first heats, and we were both top qualifiers, and we had no problem making the A main, because it was a RCH track in Costa Mesa, which even on the regular club nights had like several heats. And we were in the A mains no matter what. And Brian came over and he goes, "I want to drive your truck." So I'm like, he didn't really talk like that. and I go, "Sure, but I got to drive your car." So he goes, "Sure, I don't care." And so he drove my truck and he bettered my time, little punk. And then I drove his car and I almost matched his time, and I was never as fast as him in cars. But I couldn't believe it. His car handled so perfectly. He had, a team of mechanics, just like Masami. He had a team of mechanics from the manufacturers. So, Teak and Associated, everybody was there working with him. I think we were on Airtronics, I think, on the radios back then. And so he had all the people, and he would dial them in, whereas I would be kind of lazy because I was 30. I just want to have fun. And so his car was just dialed. The off power steering, the on power steering, the way that it sprung from the jumps, the way that it landed off the jumps, the way that it rolled in the turns off the jumps, the way that it the differential acted at the start of the straightaway when you leaned on it, the way it pitched at the end of the straightaway. Everything about the thing was just on rails, and I never drove that fast, and I never drove that easy. It was just so easy to go that fast, and I'm like, no wonder you win all the time with this thing. Anybody would win driving your car, and yeah, if we all had that car, he'd beat us. But I'm telling you, if he had my normal two-wheel car, which was always junk, because I never cared too much about that class, and then I drove his, I would beat him for sure, guaranteed, every time. So, plane setup is a huge deal, and I've been lazy about it. The last year, 2 years. I used to always talk about 20 years ago, rates and expos. Experiment till you get it just right, and CGs, and yeah, now I do kind of work on CGs now, but I do it real lazy way. I just add lead until I get it where I want it. Or like with my 114 Extreme Flight Extra NG, the blue and white one, which I love, because I sold that. I got rid of everything, but all those big planes. But I just kept taking things off the front, So it was too nose heavy, so I took the spinner off. I took the wheel pants off. I took the cuffs off. What else? I started taking everything off. I took the graphics off the cow. So I have worked a little bit on CGs, but never rates, never expos for much. I can't say never, but little tweaks, but not just spending the day, get it like dialed in, and mixes. I've been like almost no mixes for 2 years. I don't think any of my current planes, third scales, have a mix. This is the first plane that's, and my only plane right now that has a mix that I put in just to see how the radio does it with frsky, and because I noticed that the roll coupling on knife edge was pretty extreme, so I added that. But yeah, just if I took a day on one of these, they fly so much better. But I'm not going without mechanical advantage because I don't want my servos to wear out, and I don't want all that blowback, when I'm in maneuvers. And then I'm not going without resolution because I can feel that stuff immediately. And I really should, take and start tweaking my planes in. And I should fly the sim, Or I could just become an alien like Kyle Washness. But I think that kind of covers it, everything. One of the other little tweaks I was going to show you guys that I forgot to while I was making the last video was, not only am I bagging on the fact that this plane came, and the Extreme Flight 67-inch as well, with no resolution, no mechanical advantage. I mean, look at the numbers. It had half the resolution that it's supposed to have. And, the mechanical advantage was way off too. And all those kind of things. But I can't say for the Extreme Flight right now because I sold mine to Chris. But I checked these factory ball link pushrod setups, and they bound in several spots throughout the range of travel. Not good. So now they don't, so I've learned a lot of little tweaks that you can do, little setup things. And this is one of them that sometimes you can use in the right circumstance. But, typically everybody's going to think to put the machine bolt into the nylon locking nut this way, into the threads with the nylon on this side. But if you look, this is conical shaped. And this creates some interesting opportunities sometimes to get things put on more freely for the ball link. It's where it binds, to free it up from binding in some circumstances. And also even, and I'd have to show you on the right plane, but to make the whole bolt itself more rigid without putting any stress on the, and I think I can just show you what I'm talking about. It's getting long again. But I'll show you in a second, but what I'm saying is that these nylon locking nuts, they are shaped like a conical and can be used as conicals in a lot of circumstances that are really helpful. Okay, so let's say, for instance, and here's the best one. Oh, no, this is really going to take a minute, unless I can find one. I'll use this. Oh, I do have one. Nice. Okay, here's a great circumstance. So I will take and use the heavy-duty plastic high-tech arms on my throttle. This is normal for me to do. And so you don't have a threaded hole. So I'll drill these holes out because they're like 1/16 of an inch holes. I'll drill it out for where I want the machine bolt to go through. So then I'll have a machine bolt, and this is the wrong size because it's drilled for 3mm, but I'll drill that out, and I'm trying to stuff that through with one hand. All these tricky things trying to do all the time in these videos because I'm too lazy to set up a tripod. There we go. Okay, so I have that on there, right? Now what you'll see in these kind of circumstances, you'll see a ball link, attached. Let's say you wanted this side or the other side, whatever. So you have a ball link attached, and then you'll see somebody put a nut and cinch it down. And they'll really have to, the structure, because there's no threads in the plastic, the structure of keeping this whole thing tight and keeping it from wobbling around and getting loose and not giving you good performance is going to be how tight you tighten it, which is going to be squeezing on the ball unnecessarily. And when you elongate the ball, when you warp the ball, then the outside link that's on the ball, it starts to bind. So how I like to resolve that is I like to put a nylon locking nut on first before I put the ball link on. And then that makes the structure of this bolt is independent of the ball link, because that nut, this nut over here is on here, and it's all tightened up. And then that's got its structure. It's super tight. It's not going to wobble around. You can put a ball link on, and then you could put a nut to cinch that up that you could just snug up. You don't have to make it tight at all. And it's that nut on the outside is not part of the structure. So that comes in handy. But now, also to keep it from binding, because you have like a pivot point, on your throttle, because let's say you put the throttle flat on the motor box instead of tilted at a 90. So now your push rod is pivoting, and so you want the ball link to be able to pivot without binding. So now, you'd have to put that nut on there to make the structure tight. Then you'd have to put a conical on there, and then you could get the pivot. But see, if you took and put the nut on, nylon locking nut first the normal way, then it becomes a conical shape, because it gets smaller towards the outside. Right there, you can see it gets smaller towards the outside. So imagine I have that, cinched down on there, and now it creates a conical shape. And then I put the ball link on, and then I put another nylon locking nut instead of a conical and a fourth nut. I flip that reverse. So then the one on the outside goes over like that. Okay, goes over like that. So I thread it on the nylon first over the bolts, and then so I have a nut on the bottom, which is retaining my structure and giving me a conical. Then I have the ball link. Then I have a nut on the top, which is just not giving me structure. I don't want it to, because I don't want it to be that tight on the ball link. I just want it snugged up. But it's holding the ball link on securely, 100% securely. But it also is a conical shape. So now the ball link itself can pivot all around freely, but it's not being squeezed on, and there's not extra conicals and nuts. So that's a trick I use on, when I need to, and I did use it on these ailerons. So yeah, it's just one of the things that you can do, one of the things to consider. I've always considered a lot when it comes to the linkages, because I just want my servos to last. I actually want them to last hundreds of flights. And these 961s, and with my setup, and these 961s on all these planes, all these gassers that I have, I can't wear them out. 100 flights, 200 flights, I haven't seen any wear. And I haven't put 1,000 flights on a plane because I'm just getting new planes all the time. But I think I could, but I'm certainly not seeing anywhere, and that's what I'm looking for. I don't like to swap out servos on a plane, so I don't want to go even 200 flights and then have to swap them out because they get some play, and so yeah, these things have always been important to me on the linkage setup. And then the 961s are pretty dreamy to have for gassers. Shit, man, 18 minutes. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I could make this a frsky video again. Show you how easy this is to set up. Let's see if do we want to do this? Okay, so if you go to, if you get, this is what I did. I haven't really studied at all about these or learned anything. I just went to the menus and did what made sense. But here you go to the model menu, click model, or click this button right here. That's a model. It's a plane model. And then I hit RF, and then I'm like, oh, this looks right. And so then I went to register right there. There we go, register. And I hit register, and it registered the receiver I got. And then I went over here, and that at the time said RX1 instead of, that says RX2, RX3. So receiver 1, and I hit receiver 1, and then it bound, and that's my receiver TD18R. And then here I think I have, yeah, some other registration ID on it. So that's all I did. That was it. I hit register, that's one click, and I hit bind, that was one click, and that was just like instant. So I was bound. Then, and this may have to do with my Jetty experience and my multiplex experience probably. But then I went to outputs because, I knew that was going to be the servos, and then there I saw the servos. So I put the servos on their defaults. So you can assign channels like with all the other radios, but I went, all my Futaba always went with defaults anyway. And then, came up, there's my aileron, there's the first one, so I hit start on that, and I looked, okay, it's called aileron, it's got a reverse and normal, so this one, see, I had a reverse, And then I saw endpoints, minimum, maximum, and I saw subtrim. Just tune those up. Here's the PWM center that's generally 1500 millisecond, and the for some reason Futaba does 1520. So then, yeah, I had all that, and that was good. That's all I needed was reverse. It's like a SmartFly unit, so I just need reverse, subtrim, and endpoints. And so it's done there. And then I wanted to do a mix because of the
radio battery is low.
Okay, fine. I wanted to do a mix because I wanted to see how you do a mix, and like I was telling you guys, the aileron coupling was pretty good on this thing, pretty severe. So I went to mixes, and then I went to aileron, and then I went to edit, and then here's everything I expected to see on. Oh, this is I got ahead of myself. Okay, I didn't do that, but well, let's see. While we're here, after I'll show you where I did the actual mixes. After I set up the subtrims and the endpoints and servo direction, then I was looking for expo. Came over here to mixes, and then and I also wanted a condition, what we call in Futaba condition, but like a flight mode, like a rate.
Radio battery is low.
This radio might kill me before I'm done with this. You guys wouldn't mind anyway. So then I saw the expo and the screen, to the right. So this is aileron, so you can see how the expo curve is, and then yeah, you see that curve change right there as I go from 70 to 60. So I was able to change to expo on the curve, and I put in 70%, and then I was able to make add right down here, add a curve, and I changed that to expo. I put it on the SA switch right there. It's just all right here in front of me. Changed that to 60, and then down here kept the standard rate at 100, and then on the same switch, you can see SA down on both. I went to 90%, and I'm going to change that back to 100. I was just doing it like to set things up, and because my ailerons I just always keep the same for any rate.
Radio battery is low.
And so that was that, easy as that, and the same thing went for the elevator and the rudder, and there was nothing to learn or figure out. Then I came over here to mixes. This is where I wanted to do rudder to aileron mix, and this is a mix that's already set up because it's a popular mix, like rudder to elevator. So I put that in, and all I did, this was super easy. And with Futaba, even after all these years, see, I want it always on. I didn't want it on a switch. And then with Futaba, I usually have to do trial and error. But with this, it was super easy. I just put the weight at 10% for now, and then I'll tune it at the field, and then 10% the opposite way. So then, and you could see it on the screen. So if I do my aileron, you can see on the screen which way it goes.
Radio
and then
is low.
On the plane, oh yeah, you can't see it because I didn't move the rudder. So now you can see it, on the rudder. You can see that the aileron's moving where the aileron would move. And then on the plane, you see that the aileron's moving there. And then by default, see that aileron move? Yeah, I think so. By default, it's limited. So on Futaba, it's not limited, and you have to limit it. But here you can unlimit it, but it's limited by default. What that means is when I'm at full deflection, so let's go. I got enough hands for this. If I go full, try to use my elbow. There we go. I'm with my elbow. I'm holding full deflection on the aileron. Now when I use the mix on the rudder, you can see that aileron is not going up or down. It's just staying right there. It's not trying to go past that point. But if I back off on the aileron, now you see that the aileron's moving. Hopefully you can see that. So it doesn't overdrive the surface that's making the compensation. And it does that by default. Like I said, with Futaba, you have to add the limit so that it doesn't overdrive. Futaba will overdrive. So, that's kind of, this thing does like a million things. You can even set your mixes up to, and Futaba does some of this stuff too, a lot of it really, but where you can adjust your mixes in the air, all that kind of stuff. You can do a lot of stuff. But for me, and I think anybody that kind of follows me is, applying the same kind of planes, the same kind of setups, and the same kind of style that I do. We don't really need it. I just showed you everything. I just showed you. You don't need to know anything else. Anybody that feels like it'd be fun to try one of these radios out, that's all we do. All we do is bind the receiver, and in our planes, and then we set the servo direction, we set the sub trim, we set the endpoints, we set some expo, and we set, what do you, if you want to call it, depending on your radio, calls it rates, conditions, flight modes, whatever, and then we do some coupling mixes, and that's all of that. That's all of that already done. And so there's not much to it. And so that's kind of cool. But I got that in this thing too. I got that in this video. So yeah, that's plenty long enough. But yeah, that's kind of get you up to date on what I'm working on. This thing's ready to go. So should be flying it on Sunday today. I think it's already Sunday. And yeah, I'm gonna put a new cool pilot in my 104 extra NG from Skywing because I want a cool pilot in there. And yeah, everything's pretty dialed, ready to do some flying. I need to get on the freaking sim. I need to get better. I'm gonna try to make a little push to get a little bit better. All right, man, that's enough talking about myself. All right, out.